Greetings everyone and welcome to No BS Baking. Got JP here, and today I want to focus on 6 critical tips that are guaranteed to improve your product quality and success baking. Now, I've discussed all of these in bits and pieces spread out among a number of my videos, but they're so important and remain one of the leading causes of product issues for new bakers or even novices when working with third-party recipes. As I've stated, many recipes you find online can be problematic. Now, this recipe I grabbed from a random site is one of the first that popped up on the search results. 4-ingredient bread, what could be more simple than that? To be fair, I discovered after reviewing the recipe that this is a no-knead product. So when I laid out the formula in baker's percent, I could see that the salt was on the higher side of the spectrum at 2.5%, and hydration seemed to range from below 50% to near 100%. This recipe author stated that if you add some white flour to the recipe, then start with the lower hydration. However, she never states how much white flour and leaves a lot up to the baker to determine what amount of water they want to use, which in itself can create issues. So let's assume that we will use all 100% wheat flour. Then we're looking at a hydration of near 100%. Doughs this high could work with the brand of flour you have or create a complete headache. The point here is that without seeing the recipe expressed in percent, you really have no way of assessing it properly. Once you have a recipe expressed in baker's percent, you can quickly see other factors you may need to consider, such as those listed here. Now, I'll not spend a lot of time going through the whys of each of these items, as I've created a short ebook that explains all of the content included in this video in much more detail, and it's available free of charge to No BS Baking viewers. If you'd like to get a free no obligation copy, simply say you want a copy in the comments section or email me via the link in the description. Because I look at everything in the recipe in percent, I quickly can gain a pretty good idea of what the dough will be like if the hydration is 60% or under or 75% or higher. By having an expectation of how the dough should feel based on a certain hydration plan, I can then begin to evaluate all the important ingredients. The critical ones being flour, water, yeast, and salt. With these in balance, all the rest of the goodies I may have in the recipe are generally negligible with respect to how the recipe should perform. Now, it is with this in mind that understanding exactly how much total liquids I'm expecting my flour to carry is one of the critical success factors. Therefore, it is important to think about the water contribution from all ingredients you add. At first glance, a recipe can look quite logical. Now add the percents in, and we can see that the author has accounted for some of these liquids as the dough hydration is only 50%. But is that going to be enough? And what is the real total hydration? By using the baking assistant as a guide, I quickly determined a common water content for the ingredients I'm concerned with, and now I can see the total hydration is definitely leaning on the side of being a high hydration dough, especially with the author recommending all-purpose flour. And to complicate things a bit more, with a salt level creeping on the lower side of the standard 2%. This recipe looks a little bit suspect. So here are the changes I made based on evaluating the recipe, which fall in line more with AP flour and will be a good start point for ensuring success with this recipe. As we just reviewed, many baking ingredients contain water, and a few additional ingredients can have a dramatic effect on the total dough hydration. Some recipe authors do a good job keying in on hydration, while others do not. This can leave you in a nightmare situation that can be further compounded by expressing the recipe in volumetric measures and the variances these types of measurements can have in a recipe. I've often discussed the importance of balancing salt and yeast in baking. Many failed recipes are due to issues with these ingredients, especially salt. Salt does more than add flavor. It tightens gluten, improving dough strength and gas retention. If a recipe has less than 2% salt, I recommend adjusting it to the industry standard, unless other salty ingredients are included. Recipes with less than, say, 1.5% salt may show changes in dough strength and consistency and overall performance. Now, we all know that bread can be made with little to no salt. However, doughs tend to be stickier, more slack, and weaker. These doughs require less mixing, less yeast, and more careful handling during proofing and baking to achieve good results. Now, the idea here is not to tell you to increase salt just because. The 2% standard is a scientifically derived safety mechanism that provides the dough every opportunity to perform to its full potential based on your flour, ingredients, and environmental conditions. Once you get a chance to evaluate the recipe's performance, you can scale back the salt in a controlled step-by-step approach, monitoring quality and baking performance until you achieve the desired result. When you look around the internet, you'll note most of the properly balanced recipes are based on 1% instant yeast, 1.25% active dry, and 2% for fresh as a control standard. These base standards have a direct correlation to salt standard of 2% for providing a double in size rest period in around 1 hour and a final proof in about the same time. This is what fermentation balance is all about. When using fats or sugars, moderate amounts of other ingredients, say under 5%, this 1 hour standard holds mostly true. The exception to the yeast application standards come when sugars or fats are increased above 5%, or hydration is dramatically increased or decreased from the 60 to 70% sweet spot, or salt levels are reduced, or a combination of these. Now, in summary, if your dough comes too fast, too slow, feels sticky, weak, and maybe even collapses a bit or doesn't jump at all in the oven, look to salt and yeast balance and how these levels pertain to the percentage of the other ingredients you have in your recipe. I've personally seen many recipes sort themselves out when only salt is ensured at industry standard. Sure to check out these videos in the archive, which will give you much more detail about the 4-pillar recipe balance. Now, I'm serious when I say if you can understand this, you will understand baking and improve your game tenfold. I've talked about this endlessly in my videos, so most of you are aware of this. However, this one critical and easy to sort out aspect of baking is lost on many home bakers. Recipes abound online with recommendations for adding warm water for the dough, like they know your baking environment. Now, if you keep your kitchen warm or you live in a warmer climate than they do, this can work for some and completely end in disaster for others. All professional bakers and bakeries know that final dough temperature is critical for consistent quality baking, so water temperature is always adjusted to meet those ends. Doughs that are too warm can be puffy and aged-looking versus a smooth and silky texture after the rest period. They can lack in final volume, have reduced oven spring, and can display a more open, almost gooey crumb after bake due to over-fermentation. I have developed a simple-to-use calculator that provides home bakers with the ideal liquid temperatures required whether you're mixing in a mixer, hand kneading, or making no-knead breads. It's one of 12 professional level calculators I provide in the Home Baking Assistant. Mixing is another one of those areas where third-party recipes can vary wildly. Like final dough temperatures, mixing standards have been around forever, yet you don't have to look very hard to see a recipe author providing really low mix times in their process. Now, any professional bakers I've talked to or seen online that understand the importance of dough development and they understand the mix time requirements for the flour they're using. Believe me when I say there is a general consensus on the amount of mixing required, and in many instances, it is not provided accurately in many online recipes. Now, yes, you can get away with undermixing your dough and still turn out a reasonable product. But if you want a good, strong rise in your product consistently with a nice crumb structure, mixing is important. The rest period is crucial in home baking. The main reason? Underdevelopment after mixing. High, even medium protein flours can often require more mixing to bring the dough to the conditioning phase. However, temperature can become an issue with longer mix times at the home baking level. Now, while bakeries often use conditioners to reduce or even skip this step, most home bakers don't. Therefore, a bench rest or bulk fermentation until the dough doubles in size is generally required. Skipping the step can result in dense bread, poor rise, and lack of oven spring due to the insufficient gluten development. So if you really want to improve your baking and dramatically increase your chances of success with a third-party recipe, then learn to evaluate the recipes in Baker's Percent. It's not difficult, and once you do it a few times, it will increase your understanding of recipe balance and sorting out any potential issues before you even start. Water is the second largest ingredient in bread production, so really take some time to understand hydration and all the sources that contribute water into a dough. By seeing hydration expressed as a percent, you'll be able to quickly identify the type of dough you can expect and make small adjustments for safely and successfully making the recipe on your first attempt. Well, save yourself a lot of grief and use 2% total salt in any new recipe you try for the first time. This will provide you with an added layer of safety for ensuring your flour and ultimately the dough produces the product to the best of its ability. Now, if for some reason you only want to spend the time checking the most important ingredients in Baker's Percent, then make sure you check salt, yeast, and water. Don't use warm or hot water in your dough because it's recommended by the recipe author. Use the right temperature water to ensure a correct final dough temperature based on your mixing plan. Now, this also applies to Tangzong. Folks that know this method always cool the mix after this process before making the final dough. Mix your dough for the proper amount of time based on the flour and bread type you're making. Properly mixed dough will improve your finished product's baking performance, finish characteristics, and eating quality. And lastly, don't skip the rest period. This is a common mistake by new bakers. Resting is more than just fermentation flavor development. It is an important part of final conditioning required to optimize your gluten, create extensibility for not only improved uniform shaping of the product, but also for optimizing gas retention, product strength, and overall baking performance. Well, I made this video because baking third-party recipes successfully is an ongoing challenge for many folks. Baking blogs like Reddit are full of examples of this. So if you want to quickly assess recipes and fix them so they work, get this short ebook. You'll thank me later.